Some of you have been giving security clearance to things and people that have no business getting near your heart. You need to learn how to guard that thing, because if you don't guard it, stuff gets in it, and what gets in it comes out of it. That's why you have to decide that I'm gonna guard my heart, and I'm not gonna let anything get security clearance. Guess what? Shame, you don't have clearance to my heart. Insecurity, you don't have clearance to my heart. Doubt, sorry, you don't have clearance. Depression, you don't belong in my heart. Loneliness, not anymore. I'm not giving you access. I'm guarding my heart so I can rebuild and become stronger. Your intake matters. What are you taking in? What are you consuming during this moment of broken heart?
Do you have those people in life that appeal to the worst in you and not the best in you? And whenever they connect with you, they bring you down to where you were before?
Who do you allow to be in your ear? What kind of relationships are you developing? Are they an asset to you, or they are a liability? Do they elevate your spirits, or do they tear you down? We get two types of people: nourishing people and toxic people. Nourishing people, they bring the best out of you. They encourage you, they inspire you, they hold you accountable. Toxic people, they are critical people, always telling you what you can't do. They're always measuring your possibilities based upon their failures. They don't know what's possible for you. My mother said, never let anybody tell you what you can't do, son, especially if they haven't done it. So as you begin to look at yourself, begin to identify the relationships that you communicate with most and say, hey, is this relationship helpful to me?
You need to learn to think, because thinking makes you act effectively in the world. Thinking makes you win the battles you undertake, and those could be battles for good things. If you can think and speak and write, you are absolutely deadly. Nothing can get in your way.
I don't care how much you murmur and complain and kick and fuss and scream and yell. When you know that God has a plan for your life, He has you tied up while you're acting crazy. Tie you up while you're trying to do your own thing. Tie you up while your ambition is out of control. Tie you up while your temper is raging. Sometimes God will tie you up till the time is right. Nothing will work. Your money won't work. Your career won't work. The boyfriend will leave. The house will sell. Because when God has you tied up, He's not going to let you get away. Has there anybody in here that's ever been tied up? When I look at how my friends got loose, I thank Him for tying me up. I wasn't happy about it then, but I'm glad about it now.
Feelings will lead us astray. Feelings can get us into trouble. And throughout life, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to lose your temper and say things you regret. You're going to get up some mornings and feel like being depressed, feel like being impatient, feel like getting upset. See, the feelings are always going to be there. But we've got to learn how to follow wisdom and do what we know is right and not just follow our feelings around. I heard somebody say, I can feel my emotions rising, but I made a decision not to get on board. Just because you can feel those emotions doesn't mean you have to get on board. And to be disciplined means to do the right thing when you feel like doing the wrong thing. When you feel like saying something that you know you shouldn't say, no, don't get on board. If things aren't going your way and you kind of feel like being discouraged, no, you've got to learn to discipline the negative feelings and keep a good attitude anyway. If somebody offends you, you feel like holding a grudge, no, discipline that emotion and learn to forgive them anyway.
Trying to handle heartbreak, it's so important that we understand there has to be output to our life. Listen to me, if you're broken, don't take a break. Don't let the person who didn't love you stop you from meeting the person who will love you. See, what the enemy wants to do is the enemy wants to isolate you. And the enemy wants you to find some valley, and he wants you to camp out in that valley and say, nobody understands me, and nobody knows how bad my heart is broken, and nobody gets me, and because nobody gets me, I'm gonna go and do this thing all on my own. But I have come to remind you that that is a lie from the pit of hell. That is simply a reaction. And if you're ever gonna rebuild, it's gonna require to share with one another and walk through it together.
I'm going to make it. It's possible. Your dream is possible. Say that to yourself every day. Feed your mind with words that you write and words that you speak to yourself. Feed your faith, and your doubts will starve to death. It's possible. It's possible. Even when you have no evidence to point to, say to yourself, it's possible. There's nothing as powerful as a made-up mind. It's a struggle sometimes to do that, especially when you have people around you telling you that it's not possible. And they're constantly pointing out your failures of the past, constantly reminding you of all of the things that you don't have going for you.
Pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. And if we live a lazy, undisciplined life, and we just give in to our feelings, and we act on these emotional impulses, we're going to make very poor choices that we regret later on. We would be much better off to just discipline ourselves right now, so that later on, we don't have to carry that heavy load of regret. I mean, how many times have we acted on our emotions and said something that we know we shouldn't say, and later on, it ends up hurting us in that relationship? How many people today act on their emotions and they get involved in a relationship outside of their marriage, and later on, it ends up tearing the whole family apart? Friends, the pain of discipline is minuscule compared to the pain of regret.
How many marriages have ended because of social media? Your grandparents that's been married for 30, 40, 50 years did not have social media to contribute to the dysfunction of their marriage. We are growing up in a technology age where communicating and social networking has went to a whole nother stratosphere. So technically, it's became even more challenging to be in a functioning, healthy marriage or relationship.
How easy is it to get up in the morning when you know you're not doing all that it takes? It's not very easy at all. You can just lay there awake thinking, oh, what's a few more minutes in bed? It won't matter much anyway. Wrong. It does matter. It will matter. Now, how easy is it to get up in the morning when you're pouring it on, doing the best you can, anxious to get going, make progress toward your dreams? It's a whole different story. When you're resting to renew your reserves, it's much different than resting to avoid your day. When you're psyched up and excited for your life, when you're excited for what you've planned to accomplish for the day, it's amazing. You'll wake up before the alarm clock even tries to startle you awake. Your successes fuel your ambition. Your successes give you extra energy. Your successes pave the way for more successes. It's the snowball effect. With one success, you're excited to meet another, and another, and another. And pretty soon, the disciplines that were so difficult in the beginning, the disciplines that got you going, are now part of your philosophy. How do you know when you're successful? Do you have to be a millionaire? No. All we ask of you is that you earn all you possibly can. If you earn $10,000 a year and that's the best you can do, that's enough. God and everything else will see to it that you're okay. The key is to just do the best you can. If it's $10,000 a year, wonderful. If it's $100,000 a year, wonderful. If it's $1 million a year, wonderful. It doesn't matter, 10,000 a year or $1 million a year. It doesn't matter as long as you've done the best you possibly can. Earn the most you possibly can. Be the most you possibly can. And here's why. The essence of life is growth. The essence of life is growth, to do the best you can. And here's what's interesting. Humans are the only life form that will do less than they possibly can. Humans are the only life form that will settle for less. Every other life form except human beings strive to its maximum capacity. How tall will a tree grow? Approximately. As tall as it possibly can. You never heard of a tree growing half as high as it could. No, trees don't grow half. Trees send their roots down as deep as possible, stretch their limbs up as high as possible, produce every leaf possible and every fruit possible. As a matter of fact, you never heard of a human physically growing half. We keep growing until we're done. Now that's a part of life we can't control.
Find out who you're associating with. If those people add something to you, if they give you something in return, or is it all just a give and take, meaning like they just take and then you give? That's a bad relationship, man. Get the negative energy out of life. These people that you're around, they're always complaining and everything else. They're taking part of your soul. You only have so much to give every single day. Why waste it on that, guys? You gotta love yourself in order to love somebody else, guys. You gotta be whole and happy with who you are if you can never help somebody else out. People say, oh, it's selfish to just care about yourself. Well, if you need some fixing and reworking, it's not selfish, because you can get yourself better and then be able to really lend a hand in an honest way to somebody to really help them out.
I want you to ask yourself, do I love myself enough to give myself permission to go after what I want? Like, do I love myself enough to exercise this weekend? Do I love myself enough to study that extra hour? Because when you can start saying yes to loving yourself, you start to realize just how far you're able to go. And I wish people knew that the ability to succeed, it's all inside of you. It's never been hidden. It's just, do you love yourself enough to let it out? The best version of yourself is so beautiful and so amazing. And yes, people may not accept you all the time and they may hurt you, but I don't want you to keep that in, because you were meant to be a certain type of person, and there's somebody out there in this world who needs to see you for who you are.
The growing of our minds, the expansion of our minds, that we can control. And that's what tends to get away from us. All life forms inherently strive to their max except human beings. Now, why wouldn't human beings strive to their maximum possibility? Here's why. Because we've been given the dignity of choice. It makes us different than alligators and trees and birds. The dignity of choice makes us different than all other life forms. And here's the choice: to become part of what we could be, enough to get by, or to become all that we can be. My best advice for you is to choose the all. Earn all you can, make all the friends you can, read as many books as you can, develop as many skills as you can, see as much as possible, do as much as possible, make as much fortune as possible, give as much of it away as possible. The max. There's no life like it. I'm telling you, once I got on track, I've never looked back. Pick up the challenge. Go for it. Take the best of the two easies. Take the route of it's easy to get ahead. It's easy to do all you can. It's easy to succeed. It's easy to have financial freedom. The more you do, the more you get. So the two primary benefits of positive reinforcement are, number one, to build good habits, and number two, to create more energy to fuel your ambitions, your desires, your achievements. How can you isolate what's working for you and what isn't? How can you make sure that you are reinforcing your positive disciplines? Well, if it isn't apparent, easy to see right away, if what you're doing is happening in such small increments that you're not sure if you're on track, then you need to be writing it down. You need to keep a journal anyway. But if you really aren't sure that what you're doing is making measurable progress, you need to keep a written record. You need to write down everything that may be relevant in your day. What you did, who you saw, what you felt, how it may or may not affect you now and in the future. The best way to track your activities of the day is to write them down. The best way to track your activities of the week is to write them down. The best way to analyze your progress through the year is to have written it down. Why? So you can look back on it. Because by keeping a written record of your life, you will be more accountable. By putting into writing the action steps that you have planned, you will easily see what works and what doesn't. Most people just try to get through the day, never writing anything down, never keeping track of their progress along the way, never really knowing if they are doing all they can to reach their goals, to drive their ambition. But gifted people learn to get from the day. They don't let a day end without picking up some valuable experience, some emotional content, some idea that may positively affect their future. To get the most from a day, to learn the most from a day, you need to be able to reflect on the day. And how can you reflect on a day unless you record it in history?
Your words become your reality. You are where you are today, in part because of what you've been saying about yourself. Words are like seeds. When you speak something out, you give life to what you're saying. If you continue to say it, eventually that can become a reality. Whether you realize it or not, you are prophesying your future. And this is great when we're saying things like, I'm blessed, I'm strong, I will accomplish my dreams, I'm coming out of debt. That's not just being positive, you are prophesying victory, prophesying success, prophesying new levels. Your life will move in the direction of your words. But too many people go around prophesying just the opposite. I never get any good breaks. I'll never get back in shape. Business is slow. I'll probably get laid off. Flu season is here. I always get it. They don't realize they are prophesying defeat. It's just like they're calling in bad breaks, mediocrity, lack. You can't talk defeat and expect to have victory. You can't talk lack, not enough, can't afford it, never get ahead, and expect to have abundance. If you have a poor mouth, you're going to have a poor life. If you don't like what you're seeing, start sowing some different seeds.
You can't do this. It's impossible. It's never gonna happen. Just give up. Just settle. It's not admit. Accept defeat. You're not the one. They just better. You're too weak. No one wants to hear you. Try something else. No one likes you. Just follow. Do like everybody else. Do it the easy way. Accept being broke. Quit dreaming. What are you doing? Why do you have to be so damn different?
We all have this negative self-talk that goes in our head. Guess what? There's enough people that are telling us we can't do it, that we're not good enough. Why do we want to tell ourselves that? We know for a fact that thoughts influence actions. We saw it there with the video Sheldon, Dr. Levy showed, right? We know that our thoughts influence actions. Why do we want to say that negative self-talk to ourselves? We need to get our own self-affirmations. Muhammad Ali, what was his self-affirmation? I am the greatest. Who else is going to tell you? There need to be quiet moments in your bedroom, quiet moments when you're brushing your teeth, that we need to reaffirm, I am the captain of my ship and the master of my fate. That is my affirmation. If I don't believe it, no one else will. How do you build self-confidence? Get away from the people who will tear you down. There's enough of that. Muhammad Ali, I am the greatest. There is no one better than me. It's a difference between hubris and ego and false pride. It's just reminding yourself in quiet, silent moments. I put it down on a list. It's right beside my mirror, right? About all the things that make me who I am. Because I make enough mistakes, and the newspapers will recognize it, and people around me will recognize it, and they'll tear me down. And pretty soon I'll begin to believe it. Stop the self-talk, the negative self-talk. If you'll watch, you'll see some athletes, they'll have a little bandage or a little brand around them. Lance Armstrong's a perfect one. What's his self-affirmation? Live Strong isn't a brand. It was to remind him of who he was. Live strong. Then it became a brand. He would move that from one arm to the next arm when doubt and fear came into his mind. Live strong. Put it on there. Let's go. We'll all have it. replace it.
Somewhere deep inside, you know what kind of person you were designed to be. If you want to produce great acorns, think like an oak, not like an acorn. Think like the person you intend to become.
Every seed has a tree in it, and the potential success of that tree is in that seed. And that's the way you are. Whatever you were born to do and be is in you now, and the success of your life depends on you becoming all that is trapped inside of you.
What kind of seed is in you? I believe part of our responsibility in life is to find out who we are.
You were not born just to make a living and keep a job and pay bills and then die. You were not born just to retire and get some pension and then fade away and we put you in a plot somewhere.
You and I were born with the gift to make this a better place.
Our circumstances and situations did not lend itself to us being successful. Many of us were not raised in an ideal circumstance that prepared us for where we really wanted to go. And even though we love the idea of being progressive or prospering or intelligent or spiritual, the reality is we were not aligned in the direction that we needed to be aligned to go to where we're trying to go.
Ask yourself, how would the person I'd like to be do the things I'm about to do?
Success for the next year is going to be you making another step toward fulfilling your purpose in life while you were born. Making another step.
Work to your potential, not your quota. If you want to stay really motivated, if you want to answer the question to why people that have already made it keep pushing, it is because they don't operate on quotas, they operate off potential. They're driven to reach their potential. This is also tied to their ethical obligation. They know what they're capable of. Nobody can tell you what you're capable of. You're the only one that knows. Work to your potential, not just the quota, and I promise you, you will be on fire day and night.
Unless you change the way you're thinking, unless you change your behavior, you're going to continue to produce the results in your life. See, all of us are winners, because some of us are producing results that we don't want. And so all you have to do is look at your game plan, look at your strategy. How is it that you have been being? What is it that you've been doing to produce this? So you're the director, you're the producer, you're writing the script, you're the star of your life. And as you begin to look at your life, you can decide whether or not it's a smash or whether or not it's a flop. That's in your hands. Look at your life, look at where you want to go. Don't worry about your circumstances. Don't worry about your age. If you want to make this your decade, you've got to start saying yes to your life. You've got to start saying yes to your dreams, yes to your unfolding future, yes to your potential. So you've got to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to say yes to your dreams. Why not? Why not me? Don't spend time like most people going through life complaining. Use that energy to get up from there and move on and get on with your life. You got to learn to let the past go so you can grow. Many people never act on their dreams because they allow their past experiences to determine what their possibilities are. Whatever you've done in the past, that's not a reflection of your possibilities. That's just a reflection of your consciousness. That's just a reflection of your development and your growth. The future is unfolding for you right now. The future is unlimited for you right now. No one knows where you can go. No one knows what you're capable of or what's possible for you.
It has everything to do with how you eat. It has everything to do with how you work out, how you prepare. It has every single thing to do with how you think. It has every single thing to do with nothing about this, but everything you do as you're getting prepared for that. And when you want it as bad as you want to breathe says, I'm willing to make any sacrifice. I'm willing to go through any pain. I'm willing to go through any suffering. I'm willing to go through whatever it takes. So when I get in there and it's me and him one-on-one, that I guarantee you at the end of it, I won't be the one that surrendered. Nobody goes in there to lose. You both want the exact same thing. You both got family out there. You both got friends out there. You both got people who invested their time and their resources and their wisdom. And you both got guys out there who at the end of the day want to smile. But at the end of the day, the person that will surrender is the person that didn't work as hard as the other person. I guarantee you that his trainer is saying he did this and he did that, he did this and he did that. I guarantee you that this person didn't just start doing this for the first time. And some of you in here, you on the upswing. Like for real, you trying to get back. You're trying to get back to a certain place. You're trying to make a name for yourself. And I'm telling you, this is the opportunity to do it. But what do you have to do? You got to work harder than the other person.
Helped people and gave to people who sued me, who lied on me, who betrayed me, who broke my heart and let me down. I have been betrayed so many times that when you don't betray me, I'm shocked. I'm scared to believe that you might be real.
If you got somebody that's dragging, that's going down a downward spiral, and you decide that you're just going to pour everything into them, well, then you're going to go down that downward spiral as well. And now you're not going to be able to help them. So I think you definitely have to take care of yourself as a person so that you have the platform to take care of someone else and help someone move in the right direction. Oftentimes when you think you're helping someone, you're really just enabling them. You got to detach. You got to make sure you're not becoming emotional. You got to make sure that you're seeing the person and the situation for what it really is. Not what you want it to be, but what it really is, who they really are, what they are really doing. And then when you're detached, you got to make logical decisions from that point of detachment to decide whether this person can be helped and how far you're willing to go to help them. And you got to remember, you can't be a hero to everybody.
We've all been used, we've all been taken advantage of. It doesn't feel good. And when you get used and taken advantage of or manipulated, it makes you stop, think, and start looking at everybody the same way. It makes you question any and everything and everybody because you were used, manipulated, and taken advantage of. You're doing everything and operating and coming from your heart. But unfortunately, other people have malicious, evil, and vindictive intentions towards you. And all you have to do is forgive those, but more importantly, learn from it. Experience is your highest truth. And I don't want you to ignore the truth. I don't want you to disown the experience. There was an open hand from your heart to help somebody get on their feet. And once you took their hand, they took that same hand that you helped them get up with, turned it into a fist, and tried to figure out a way to knock you out.
Sometimes it takes you a minute to process what to do when right goes wrong. You're not ready for a new relationship because you can't figure out what happened in the old relationship because you said, I gave my very best and it went wrong, and so I have lost confidence in my best. Because you left me with the notion that maybe my best isn't good enough. So I'm not sure that anybody will ever see my best again. Because I did it from my heart. I did it from my heart. And now I know what young people do not know. Is that right can go wrong.
People who are not your children, you are under no obligation to help people. You're not responsible for another adult's happiness, well-being, or welfare. You're not responsible for that, nor should you make yourself responsible for another person. Take that pressure off you. First of all, if they didn't have your number, what would they do? I always say that. You're her friend. She's not your friend. You have a one-sided friendship. So what you gotta do is you gotta even it out. Just when the phone rang, you know not to answer because she wants something. So don't answer. Here's the best thing to do. Stop using your voicemail on your phone because I'm gonna teach you something. And do you notice that 95% of all your voicemails are a request? Let your voicemail fill up and don't ever empty. Don't you become the 911 in everybody's life. Just stop. Release yourself under pressure. Now her number, I would just block her number. I just learned how to block numbers this past Christmas. Oh my God, did you all know that? It's the greatest, oh my God. That's what I gave myself for Christmas. My life's so good right now.
Some of y'all right now are in relationships and friendships that you are clearly being used and taken advantage of. They're either gonna come after your man when you let them live with you, come after your wife. They're jealous of who you are and all the things you have, and yet they're using you for these various things. Pay attention to people and who they really are. Don't manipulate your mind to thinking, you know what, maybe I'm just being a negative person. There's this thing called instincts, intuition, and discernment. Pay attention to them. Don't disown them, because you will end up in pain in the end if you don't move on the discernment, the instincts, and the intuition about people, things, and situations.
Despite the fact that these are some of the clearest, most easily recognized elements of strong character, in the real world, they're also some of the most difficult to find. It seems it's always been that way. In ancient Greece, the philosopher Demosthenes went searching for an honest man, and he never found one. I've been fortunate. I think I've known a great many honest people. But if I measured that number up against all the less than ethical people I've encountered, I guess I'd have to admit that even in my experience, honesty and integrity are rather rare. Why is that? I hope to provide some answers. I want to start talking about honesty by looking at the exact opposite of honest behavior. There was a time when telling a lie was very serious business. I'm speaking now of the days before lawsuits and legally enforceable contracts. In those days, lying was a very serious matter. It was also very serious if you accused someone of lying. Today, a breach of integrity in a business matter might mean calling in the lawyers. But for hundreds of years in the past, calling someone a liar was the most common way to provoke a duel, at first with swords, later with pistols. Dishonesty was treated like a personal insult that demanded immediate redress.
You have to think. You can't just feel. You have to think. You know, even when you're taking care of kids, part of what you're doing is being compassionate. But if you're too compassionate towards your kids, then you do everything for them. And if you do everything for them, then they grow up useless and they never leave and they hate you and they hate everything else too. It's a bad idea. You know, there's a rule if you're working in a place like a nursing home, and the rule is, it's a harsh rule, do not do anything for the people that you're taking care of that they can do for themselves. And so if they have to struggle to feed themselves, you don't bloody well intervene and feed them. You let them maintain their damn independence. And you have to be a hard-hearted bastard to do that, you know, to watch someone struggle like that. But you're furthering their medium to long-term independence and development, and you do the same thing with your children. Treating your children like they're endless permanent victims is a very bad idea.
And one of the problems with being really strong is that no one ever asks you if you're okay. No one ever comes to you in the same way that you generally reach out to other people, and I know because I've experienced this. I tend to be the rock that most people lean on, and where is it and how is it that you can find someone that can pull you up? It has been a challenge of mine, and it's something that really used to bother me at a real visceral level for so many years. I'm to the point where I wanted to cry, because it's like, who can I lean on? And I know that's your problem. I know that's what you're dealing with. You're asking me, how do I go find a mentor? How do I find someone that can support me? What I've found is that there are two types of mentors that have been most valuable in my journey to becoming a stronger version of myself. That through books. You're going to find that there are certain individuals who have written volumes and volumes of text that will support you in almost every area and endeavor in your life. But you also need someone who's there with you, who's talking to you, who you can touch and see, who's going to support you. And it's not easy to find that type of person. In fact, those that are more able to help you than others in that regard are really busy. Their time is spoken for on so many different levels. When I say I have mentors and I go see mentors, it's not that I was so lucky that some older man took me under his wing, but to get the undivided attention of someone who you know has that magnetic strength that we mentioned earlier that you have. You're going to have to trade a portion of your energy with that person so that they can give you that, because their time is valuable. Because you've been through some stuff, and you can help them, give them advice, give them insight over things that they may be struggling with. This is what the love circle is. We spread love. I got 18 million followers because I've been spreading love. That's what this is about, nothing else. I don't care about the numbers if I'm not trying to impact and change lives. When people write comments and tell their stories, respond to 10 people without you knowing you have signed up to be a part of the love circle. I love you. Tag whoever needs to see this video and make sure you share it.
Everyone knew the big problems that could result if you got caught, so lying to another person took a certain amount of, what's the right word, foolish bravery maybe. But there's no such risk today, is there? Some people lie all the time without thinking about it. Most people know when they're being lied to, which they may find irritating, but they just accept it. Maybe they decide to become liars themselves. In any case, very few duels are being fought. To explain this, I think we can make a comparison between how some people today feel about lying and how they feel about money. It used to be you either had money or you didn't. When you bought something and the bill came, you had to pay it or there was an immediate problem. There were only two alternatives. You took care of your debts or you were a thief. Some people would literally take their own lives if they couldn't honor their debts. I'm sure we agree that's not exactly true any longer. Many people don't feel the same kind of personal responsibility about paying debts promptly. And today, of course, we can put off paying for our purchases as long as we can make the minimum payment on our credit card. That pain that comes with having to shell out hard cash for something, the pain of maybe having to give something up in order to have this thing, we can avoid that pain. We can put it off indefinitely as plastic debt. Of course, there's going to be a high rate of interest on that debt, and the balance due can quickly mount up. But most people don't even think about that. It's a price they're willing to pay in order to have exactly what they want right now. There are many situations where it's painful to tell the truth. It's painful in just the same way that paying a big fat bill is painful. In fact, we even use the same words to talk about paying debts and telling the truth. We may talk about somebody's word being like money in the bank. We talk about being held accountable, about having to account for yourself, about being called to account. If you've done something that you're really not proud of and you're called to account for it, well, what does that feel like? How do you handle it? What are your options when you've got to explain something that makes you uncomfortable? Well, it's a bit like that moment of decision when the credit card bill comes every month. If you want to pay off the whole balance, there may be some pain and sacrifice involved. You may have to grit your teeth. You know that your life will be simpler in the long run, but it's going to hurt a little right now to pay off the new golf clubs or the new computer, or how about the 60-foot yacht? I don't actually know if you can put a yacht on a credit card, but I've certainly known people who would if they could. Gritting your teeth and paying in full can hurt. So quite often it seems easier to pay the minimum and delay the pain until next month. It's easier to float the truth of your finances off into a little imaginary plastic flying carpet and sail it into the mailbox. Of course, it's not really a flying carpet. It's more like a boomerang that's going to come around and hit you in the back of the head someday. But as Scarlett O'Hara once said, I guess I'll think about that tomorrow. For the time being, it's gone with the wind. Let me give you some good advice about avoiding a bankrupt character. Pay your ethical debts. Keep your integrity in the black. Face ugly realities with the truth as soon as they appear. When you feel that temptation to hedge, resist it immediately. Don't treat it casually. Treat it like a grease fire in the kitchen that you've got to put out before it burns your house down or fills the whole place up with so much smoke that you can't see where you're going anymore. Because that's exactly what will happen when your ethical capital runs out. You just won't be able to see where you're going anymore. Here's another way that being untruthful is like buying on credit. They're both addictive. At first, they both go down so easy, and they leave you wanting more. Any addictive behavior offers a simple, short-term escape from a problem. But that escape becomes more and more complicated as time goes on. Lying can get extremely complicated. You've really got to have an outstanding memory to be a good liar, because you're always having to create more lies that are consistent with the one you told in the first place. I'm sure we have at some time been caught up in a dilemma like that. Shakespeare had it right all along. What a tangled web we weave when at first we practice to deceive. Maybe you think I'm being a bit tough here. Am I really saying that in every instance you've got to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So if somebody asks me, how are you today? I'm supposed to say, well, I gotta be honest with you, I have a sore finger. Last night I had a headache, and I've got to admit that my foot hurts a little. No, that's not what I mean. In fact, I think there are many times when some flexibility with the whole truth and nothing but the truth is called for, and I'll be discussing those later. Outright lying, however, planned lying, lying with an ulterior motive, lying for personal gain, that kind of lying is definitely something to be avoided. But untruthfulness is so tempting today, and I want to spend a little more time on it. I want to make a clear distinction between what I call foolish lying or silly lying or stupid lying and lying that is downright evil and poisonous to the character. Boasting, bombast, blarney, bragging, these are all the same thing. They're always floating around in the atmosphere, and they can affect you at any time like catching a cold. They're mostly harmless unless you start building a whole personality around them, which has definitely happened to some people. I should mention that there's such a thing as boasting in reverse too. People who flaunt their frugality, people who poor mouth, people who are oppressively ostentatious in their lack of ostentation. This is actually becoming a bit more common. Keep an eye out for it.